have a fan club. That is so fun. Thank you. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, my name is Linda Levine, and I feel as though my entire life has led to this moment of caregiving for my husband. I don't know how anybody could have been more prepared to be a caregiver than I have had life preparation. My background is in recreational therapy. I created a course at San Jose State University that became the most popular course for a decade on campus called Creating a Meaningful Life. I've been a grief worker for 20 years, specializing in small children, teens, and young adults. I was care provider to my parents, etc., etc. That being said, oh, and I'm married to the most amazing person. Human extraordinaire. Where is he? Back there. And this has been so overwhelming to become a caregiver for my beloved. And what I want to do is empower this room to hear what I'm saying, and I've created my slides to be things that you then can say to future caregivers. Oh, I have a clicker here. That's good. I could have come, as I do other places when speaking about grief or caregiving, with all the information and all the data. But this room knows it. And basically, it is to get help as a caregiver costs a fortune. Even if you have the money to get it or the insurance to get it, it's tricky. People are supposed to come, they don't come, etc. And it's exhausting. So I decided to skip that part, because you know it already, and just move on. I have 15 minutes to empower you, to empower caregivers. What I've done is I've taken 4 topics: express, ask, time, and self-care. Because these are things I wish that the OT, PT, neurologist, and everyone would have told me, and probably again and again, because I was in such anticipatory grief shock. And I would love to share with you. You may notice that these spell EATS, E-A-T-S. And I did it that way because when I am not expressing, asking, understanding that time is so different now, and giving myself self-care, I just eat and eat and eat and eat. And also, the job of caregiving eats away at me. So express. Most family caregivers are spouses. I have 15 minutes, so I'm going to talk about my own experience. You can feel extraordinarily alone. I even felt alone with David. He's my best friend. He's my partner. He's the one who got the bad news. Interesting story. David had been tracking his development for a long time, but he's not a complainer. So he would say, oh, I went for a hike and stubbed my toe. I'm like, okay. I'm rowing crew and I'm not as fast as I used to be. Welcome to 50, etc. I wasn't getting it. The guy who doesn't take an aspirin, doesn't take a Tylenol, we go in and they say, you have ALS. I was so mortified that he'd been saying really important things like, I stubbed my toe, I'm tired. And because I missed it, I just felt like the worst wife on the planet, and I became hyper vigilant. Once I knew he had ALS, I was harping on him. Be careful, hold the banister. I heard you choke. And he's like, you choke too, you trip too, leave me alone. That hypervigilance, for me, his ALS began one day and I was gonna be on. And for him, it had been going on for years. So, the way I'd like all caregivers to hear it is your spouse has ALS, but ALS has moved into your home. ALS is happening to you. It is the third roommate. You both have the right to speak up, and even I, who speak to crowds this size and larger, speak internationally, I get white coat syndrome. The people in the room at the multidisciplinary team meeting, they've got the ticket. So I do that thing that one of the last speakers talked about. It's like, okay, sure. Unless you explicitly say, I'd like to hear from David, and then I'd like to hear from you. I'd like you we bring David's sister, who's amazing, to the room as well. She's great, because she says important things like, Linda, breathe. And she's ears in the room. So, in terms of expressing, you want to, I'm sorry. Okay, David and I have talked about this a lot. Watching your spouse decline can, in some cases, be harder on the caregiver than it even is on the individual. A therapist told me that when somebody has a terminal disease, it's impossible to look in your own grave. I need to tell you as a caregiver, the moment they said ALS, I'm staring in the grave. How long will I have him? Will he suffer? And he was not experiencing the wrenching pain I was. He didn't have the grief fog. In fact, when all this began and he had told his immediate family, he said, I need to write an email to our greater community. He said, oh, I've written it. Here's how it goes. Dear friends and family, I'm happy to report that I know what these symptoms are. And I said, honey, you sound like a lunatic. No one is happy to report they have ALS. All right, so we've had to do a lot of talking because we see things differently. In terms of expressing, counselors are great, support groups are great, but please tell your caregivers that finding support is like shopping for clothes. You don't walk in and go, oh, I'll take that shirt, and it fits, it might feel scratchy, you can give it away. You don't have to go with the first counselor. Ask your friends. If somebody has ALS experience, hooray, but there's not that many out there. Find non-traditional paths so that you can express yourself. For me, I'm artsy. So I write and I create things. In one of those moments in the middle of the night, while David is sleeping and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? He has ALS, what are we gonna do? Him. You do too. You don't anymore because you have a BiPAP. So I wrote in a circle, I feel safe, I feel seen, I feel celebrated, I feel serenity. And all around it were all the things that were going on causing me distress. The Middle East, the election, ALS. Lately, it's like ALS dropped to 3 on my list, I'll just tell you that. Also, I found support with a friend. A friend of mine is 20 years older than I am, and her husband had cancer, and he was given 6 years to live. Well, now she was on her 20th year with him, and they had a really great relationship like David and I, but man, was she tired. She thought she could run the race for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. And so we decided to meet regularly, and the topic was not our husbands. The topic was us living our best lives. How do we continue the vibrant process of being who we are? And because Gary's amazing and because David's amazing, they were like, rah, rah. And sometimes David is like, have you called Jean lately? Also, find a safe place of some sort, a counselor or support group, before the crisis happens. Because in the crisis, you're not going to want to start something new. And I give David a lot of credit because I'm all about therapy, counseling, etc. Sign me up for a group. And David's not so much, but he got a counselor because he is so positive and miraculously doing this journey. But he said, if I go down and I have all these feelings, I don't want it to all lay on you. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Express yourself to the care team. Family caregivers are key members of the care team, and often you and the person that is reporting do not see things the same way. I really resonated with that driving talk because in the first year, David reported things that seemed greater than they were. He was putting on his new life. And they were saying things like, how's your walking? And he's like, I walk fine. May I comment? You walk fine, but different than before. I think the PT needs to hear that, right? So making sure that this person has the voice. This is big, ask your partner not to share something in a multidisciplinary team meeting that you haven't heard. There's nothing like sitting there, hearing a new symptom and going, whoa, oh my God, I had no idea. So my head is racing. Let me process it and then be welcome to the professional advice. Again, expressing what I observe, and also caregivers have rights, and that does not make you selfish. It makes you a member of the team. And say that again and again to caregivers, because as a caregiver, you're thinking, my beloved, he's not climbing mountains, he's not rowing crew. He's not even staying up very late. He's tired, and I'm good. What do I have to complain about? Well, ALS is happening to both of us. Our blueprint for life has changed. Ask professionals for solutions. They were asking David, can you dress yourself? And he said, yes. It's taking him 3 times longer. They had all kinds of advice, and it's been awesome. He's wearing a shirt that I love that we got on a trip today, but most of the time now, he wears magnetic clothing. He likes doing the Superman. He likes doing that. We asked an OT friend to create this robe thing. He was having trouble drying off after a shower, so we based it on that like baby robes or baby towels, so he can put it on his head, and that's terry cloth. He can use it as a towel. So we co-created that. But the professionals have been exceedingly helpful. Ask peers. At first, David and I were a little nervous to come to conferences like this. We were a little nervous to do the fundraising walks because he has a very slow form of ALS, and I wasn't sure if it would set us back to see where this is leading. What's the next step? What happens when he's not able to breathe on his own? What happens? What we learned was we were empowered by the strength in the room. We love the posters. Go away, go away. Ask for help. Are you all having fun? All right, go away. Okay.
What do you want from me?
Also, ask for help from people who know nothing about ALS. This is our friend Mark. He does woodworking. We bought this expensive chair. David wasn't ready for the lift chair yet, so we didn't get it. Well, now he is. So Mark made this base, and the chair is so much taller now. It's awesome. Ask for respite help, but bring people in. As a caregiver, I am sure nobody can take care of David the way I can. But I need out some of the time, and I'm not even to a place that's down the road. Time changes. If there are caregivers in the room, and I'm sure almost everybody has been a caregiver to somebody, your loved one is moving slower and slower. I kept thinking, why am I always late? I'm even late when he's not with me, because I'm doing those last things for him, right? So also, household chores take longer. If David's doing it, a meal takes him 2 days. Seriously, to buy it, to wash it, to chop it, to make it, and then cooking it, right? Take the time to prepare. My biggest anxiety was, how do I do the finances? What's the password? All that stuff. But the more I discussed it with David, he's made me a sheet. We have a to-go bag now of all those kinds of things I need to know. He's going to be good for a long time, but my anxiety never knows that. Time changes because we all know, if we're in love, that you don't get to die, most of us, at the same moment on the same day. But there's something about an ALS diagnosis that changes that. Self-care, know that the caregiver is going to say, self-care, what kind of professional are you? Do you know how busy I am? But just know they're gonna roll their eyes and go blah, 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 blah. But what you need to say is self-care is whatever you need, whatever you make it to be. And I'm gonna say, as a caregiver with empowerment, everybody says self-care because you can be the best caregiver to David you can be, which is so true. And I need self-care because I matter.
Yeah.
Right? This is my life. Remember, self-care can be sitting for a cup of tea. I don't know how many people have said to me, you ought to go get a manicure. I'm like, I've never liked manicures. Why would I go get a manicure, right? It's an individual thing. Also, people tell you what self-care you can and can't do. So I love babies and kids, and people no longer will let me babysit because I'm already a caregiver. I'm like, give me your damn baby. It fills my soul. But I used to babysit, now I have to push. Also, self-care is celebrating. That's my mom, and that's a handicap card. And we had champagne together when we got this card because I had worked so hard to get a handicap parking pass. And so we had a champagne party for the card. That's self-care. Know when you're falling apart. Know that there's no such things as superheroes. Caregivers, you will snap at your beloved. Caregivers, you will withdraw. Sometimes if a family member comes over, you're like, lovely to see you. Because being alone is precious because you're with your partner in a way you never were, a lot. Also, self-care means doing things you enjoy doing together and not talking about ALS, MND. So, anguish, ALS is always losing something. MND to me means that I must notice David's decline, his deficits, his disabilities, because I'm the caregiver. And I want to do that so well. There's nothing I want to do better. There's also moments of incredible sweetness and memories that will last a lifetime. This is one of the finest times of David and my life. I wouldn't ask for it, but I wouldn't trade how we've evolved. We make decisions together. We push each other to do our own interests. Caregivers can be better instead of bitter. I don't want to lose David, and I don't want to lose me. And to lose me would be to become bitter. Aren't we cute? Obviously, I need to open it up to questions. Thank you. Do not hate me for pushing you away.
I'm
I was
so
on a roll.
glad that you were thrilled to have me on the stage with you. I loved it, and I have to apologize because I mispronounced your last name.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, yeah, that was pretty fantastic. So a huge round of applause. Questions? Over here, I've got, okay, we have both. I don't know who's first. Jess.
Okay, hi.
She doesn't have a microphone yet, so you go.
Hi, Linda. Jessica May from Colombia. That was absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Just want to say. I was a former caregiver to my mom, and like you said, it's so easy to stop caring for yourself, but I just wanted to emphasize the two of you are absolutely fantastic and just learning so much from. I wish I had someone like you talk to me 6 years ago. So I just wanted to say thank you.
My pleasure.
Bravo. I think we have, here, the microphone's right behind you, hon. There you go.
Thank you. I am from Leticia. I'm from Mexico.
Buenas tardes.
Are you people wonderful? I'm sorry for my English.
Fantastic.
Well, more than a question, she just has a request, which is whether you could actually convey the same message to her caregivers in Mexico.
Are you inviting me to Mexico?
I think so.
Actually, to be real, I do travel as a motivational speaker, and I love Mexico, so let's talk. So I do, I've retired from, what? Oh. I do coaching for people who want to create a meaningful life, who are in any kind of transition, and I do grief and caregiving as my specialty areas, and I do speak all over. So I'd be happy to. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to invite her to another country? Yes.
Anybody
Anyone?
online?
Anyone?
I want to make sure
See some
the
hands
online
in the back.
people-
She already lives in the U.S.
I'll go anywhere with Linda. She knows that. But I'll go along to Mexico and anywhere else. Linda, how do you recommend that we support caregivers who are so deeply burnt out or so far gone, right? And you and I have talked about this a little bit.
We
right?
did.
We worked with a caregiver who said, my husband was given up to 5 years to live. We're on year 6. I thought I was going to be done. And I don't know how much longer I can do this, right? We all know there are those caregivers who just say, I wasn't built for this. How do I do this? And while I love every tip you gave, and I wish when I was a caregiver, someone had, like you had talked to me, it sometimes can feel almost too superficial for those that are so far gone. So what is your recommendation to us in supporting those caregivers?
Well, first of all, I would validate, because Even in our situation where David is highly functional, it doesn't stop my anxiety, the life change this has caused. So validate their feelings. Also, gently, I would say, gently point out where there are options for them to get breaks. Because a lot of caregivers, as much as they say, I don't want to do this, they won't let anybody else do it either. And they won't look into options. That might be something that you could engage a social worker or care provider, because if they're that burnt, they may not want to do the work. But there are options. There are options to take breaks. Unfortunately, there are caregivers who walk. There are caregivers well, they're not caregivers then. They're partners who walk. That is too terrifying. That's another situation. But, we're really good. And in July, I called my friend Jean, who I meet with every 2 weeks to talk, whose husband is Gary. That's who I'm talking about. And she picked up the phone and I said, SOS, SOS, I'm in trouble. I'm snapping. She's like, meet you at our T-spot. So I met her, and she just let me say, he knows I'm going to say this, so this is not terrible or mean. I'm like, he doesn't say thank you like he used to. He doesn't show the appreciation, and I am tired. She's like, of course you are. Of course you are. Talk to him about it. So we did, and we got there. There were other things, of course. But I was like, whoa. I don't know about this. So encouraging people to see it as a roller coaster and that all relationships are roller coasters, that's an important piece. I don't know the answer because I haven't been in that person's shoes, but I think it's important to validate that this is hard and you see them. Being seen is really important. I see you. I want your opinion in the care meeting. I want to help you find a counselor. I want to help you get a dog walker or whatever they need. Thank you for that question.
So we are out of time.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
Maybe you talked too long, Melinda. Maybe you stole my time.
I talked too much, I know. One more. Okay, whatever. Sure. Let's do it. Oh, it's Allison.
Hey, I love Allison.
Thank you. So I love you, Linda. Thank you. You know I love you, David. Leslie, I love you. I want to give you a different perspective answer on that, though, before we close, because I would say, as a caregiver to my late husband, who was the person who said, I can't do this anymore, but you can't do it for me. I'm going to be the one doing it, that is a form of self-care, self-love, that I say that to you, that I'm saying, I am feeling this way. That is what I needed to do, was to offload that to you for a second. But I'm still going to pick myself up and do what I need to do for my husband. So
Such a good point.
I encourage you to look at self-care as not necessarily getting away. My choice was to be with him. So help me cope with what I need to be with him instead.
I'll just follow up. When my mom was helping with my dad, I was trying to encourage her to get out. And she said, Linda, I'm gonna rest and I'm gonna go out with my friends when he's gone. Right now, I wanna be with him. I'm like, okie dokie. I hadn't been in those shoes, but I am now.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
That was fantastic.